This is Bobby McCutcheon of Williamsburg County Library. A few weeks ago, we were guests of Mr. Henry Poston at his manufacturing facility, Palmetto Synthetics, here in Kingstree. I wanted you to know what an exciting day this was for us, and wanted you to know also, when I first introduced Mr. Henry Poston at the beginning of the video, I misspoke the name of his company. It's Palmetto Synthetics. Just wanted you to know that. Now please enjoy this wonderful visit with Mr. Henry. Good morning, I'm Bobby McCutcheon from the Williamsburg County Libraries. With me today, behind the camera, is our children's librarian, Kimberly Matthews. And taking stills from us from the Friends of the Library is Buddy McCutcheon. And this fellow with me, I'm so excited to say, is Mr. Henry Poston. We are guests of his at his manufacturing facility in Kingstree, South Carolina, called Palmetto Fabrics. The reason we are here is Mr. Poston is one of the most interesting people in our state. One of those reasons is because he grew up on a farm in Johnsonville, worked very hard, learned a lot, went to school, and started a manufacturing business that now influences people all over the world. So we want to know how Mr. Henry Poston came from a farm in Johnsonville, where they grew tobacco, as I understand, to this facility. So can you tell us a little bit about how you grew up and your interests in school?
I'll be happy to. And first let me say I'm delighted to have you with us today, and I'm delighted to share some of the things that we're doing here in Williamsburg County. As you said, I did grow up on a farm over in Florence County. We were all farmers from a rural area. We're all in rural areas now, but certainly this was a rural area, and we had very little industry at all as we were growing up. And at that time, on Saturdays, all the farmers and their families would go to town and on Saturdays, and they'd buy groceries, and they'd sit around and socialize, a social event. And the stores would close at 9 o'clock on Saturday night, and they'd blow the siren that says it's time to close. Every store has to close at 9 o'clock. So, and it was a big social event. And when I was 10 years old and in the 5th grade, we were there one Saturday night, and the mayor of the town came down the street, and he was so excited. He said, "We got it, we got it, we got it." And I'm thinking, what did we get? And they said, "We have gotten a new industry coming to town. It's going to be a wool combing company." And everybody was so excited, it was almost like dancing in the street. They said, "What of us?" We're going to have 500 carpenters and 500 brick masons coming into town to build this new plant. And I'm thinking, what is this excitement about? New plant? I don't know. I think it is something plant that grows in the woods and all of them. But I said, I'm going to learn about this plant. So it's wool. So I said, okay, I'm going to learn everything I can about wool. So I started going to the library looking for books. I became very passionate about wool and what was happening with wool. And I find that, I knew about sheep and wool, but I didn't realize a lot of the properties that wool had. So I realized that, cavemen used the first sheep skins for warmth and all. And then they later learned how to even take the wool fibers and weave them and make fabrics out of them. So wool is a great fiber. So I got really enthused about that. I spent as much time as I could studying all about the wool fibers. And as I was looking at a lot of the research, I realized there was other things happening in the fiber area. Okay, cotton's a natural fiber, but it's not as good as wool, but it's still a fiber. And so we said, well, this is great, but what about other things? And at the time, we were beginning to introduce some synthetic fibers into the thing. So
what is a synthetic fiber?
Synthetic fibers are made from oil, basically. The other fibers, everything that we produce, most of the synthetic fibers are produced from oil. They're synthetic fibers, and everything we do here now is synthetic. There's nothing natural about what we do in here. But I continued to research and find out there was other things going on. I continued my studies, and fortunately at the time we did have an apprenticeship program, very similar to what we're doing here now. We went to school on Saturdays, didn't get any pay for it. We went to school every Saturday, and then in the summertime we were able to work at the plant and at the wool plant, learning more about wool and the properties of wool. So it was a very great experience for us at that time. So I continued my passion. I went on to Clemson for studying properties of the fibers and different polymers. And basically, I'm a polymer chemist and studied about the different polymers and things that are available out there.
So that's sciences.
Find out in science area, in science and chemistry, find out there's lots of different things being developed at that period of time in the synthetic fibers. Polyester was just beginning to be introduced. Polyester is a great fiber. It was never as good as cotton, but it still is a very great fiber. So we spent a lot of time at the university studying about the properties of fibers, studying about the textiles and how these fibers are turned into many, many different products. When I finished Clemson, I was able to go into graduate school to continue my studies in the fiber science area to learn more about the properties of fibers and things that can be done in the textile arena. So we went back to work for the same company when I graduated from there, and we continued our research. We started looking into the idea of making recycled materials. So it's been a passion of ours all along in the recycled area.
What is that? What's recycled?
Recycle means to take other materials with the polymers in them and turn them back into fibers. The fibers can be reused. So we decided that we would do that, and we were the first company to take the plastic bottles that you see and turn like this, and we have some. This is a polyester bottle. This is made out of the same polymer that we make fibers out of. And you can take this and turn it back into fibers and make other things out of it. So we were the first ones to actually take these bottles, clean them up. You have to take the label off, take the caps off, and chop them up and then turn them back into fibers that we can reuse in many different applications. We stayed there, and then we decided that we wanted to continue our passion of doing specialty synthetic fibers, so we decided to come to Williamsburg County. We built this plant here in Williamsburg County 20 years ago, and we're still concentrating mostly on recycled materials. We buy recycled things of all different fashions, and I can show you some of those things that we use and some of the things that we do. And it goes into different products. Anything that does with textiles, we can make into t-shirts, we make into military uniforms, it goes into automotive fabrics, it goes into almost anything that's textile garments, wovens and non-wovens. We're producing it here, the fibers to go into those applications. So
You've given us so many vocabulary words that we need to flesh out, and this summer we'll work on that, fleshing out those vocabulary words for all of us to understand what those are. Now, you were a scientist and a chemist, and you were talking about learning how to make textiles and fabrics and all these things, but you need machines to make all those things. How did you figure those out? What did you do?
Well, the knowledge for making the synthetic fibers has been around for 50 years or something. Actually, how to extrude the fibers and make fibers out of. The knowledge of making it out of recycle has been developed in the last 25 30 years. So we were involved in developing what machinery was out there, and then developing into areas that could be used in the recycle arena. We end up with fibers just as good or the same as what they call virgin polymer, which was really not any recycle, but it makes a great product, and we're saving the environment and saving the earth by using lots of recycled things. So many of our things would end up in a landfill if we weren't taking them and converting them back into fibers for reuse again. For example, we use quite a bit of material in the automotive area. It goes into lots of things in the automobiles, in the trunk liners. When you open your trunk, there's a fabric in there, and that's a trunk liner. It goes into floor coverings, it goes into headliners, so lots of things. But when they make a car, they have to end up with a lot of scrap to make it fit exactly right. So they cut the scrap out, and we buy the scrap and then turn that scrap back into fiber, send it back to them, and they make it into another fabric. So it just keeps getting used over and over again. So
you know what I like so much? Not only learning about how you're helping to save the environment, learning a little bit about what you make and your process of making that.
Right.
But your enthusiasm, you love learning and you love developing something and going on to the next step. Is that something you were born with? Or is that something that was developed by different people?
Certainly when we were growing up, we realized that there was other things in life than farming. Nothing wrong with farming, we love farming, but there were other things in life that we wanted to look at and be involved in. And certainly we feel like you have to find something that you really got a passion about and start going after it. And we did that. We did find it. We had opportunities was presented to us. We find that the more we learn and more we study, the more we scope out these things, the better off we are. So certainly there is a passion. We love what we're doing here. We love our people. We love our company. So there's so many good things happening for us here. We didn't have any books at home to study, no encyclopedias or anything there, and unfortunately so we had to go to the library. So I went to the library immediately, started finding everything I could on wool fibers to learn about wool, but then I went from there to learn about the other fibers that might be available at the time. So many exciting things. If you'd like, I could show you a few things that we
Please, can you do that?
That we have done.
Would you like me to get some for you?
Well, let me just, I think could we just kind of move over here?
Yes.
I'll show you a little bit about what we do. This is a beer bottle that's collected from a stadium. It's a plastic polyester beer bottle. And what we do is we grind it up. We get the bottles in and we grind it up. And then we extrude it and make fiber out of it. This is the fiber. This is how we would ship it out. But then we sell it to the customer that makes this happens to be a t-shirt here made out of beer bottles. And we use different things. These are some of the shirts that we make. This is made out of a green bottle, like a Sprite bottle or whatever. This is the beer bottle. These are just t-shirts. This is made out of black food trays. You see the trays that you put in your
and they're
microwave.
soft and beautiful.
When you microwave your food now, that's polyester. So we can take those food trays and grind them up and make fibers out of them and put them back into a fabric. So this happens to be one that's gray. This same thing, but it's just got a little bit of black in it. It's this got some mostly white fibers in there, but it's got a little black to give it the color. And these colors will never fade. I mean, you wash this material that wears out, the color is permanent in it. So it's fully. This gives you some idea of some of the colors and things that we produce. We make many different colors in our operation, and our colors are impregnated in the fiber completely. This is not dyed. This is colored with material that will not come out, and that's why they use it. These colors don't go in automotive, but they would be used in automotive fabrics that they have to have 10-year fade. They can't fade in 10 years, so we put them in there for 10 years. We make a lot of black that goes in the military socks. These are some of the pricey socks that you see. So we got quite a bit of things. This is kind of things that we talked about. Other recycled materials that we buy. This material. This is you see. This is a vitamin bottle.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different things here made out of the fibers. As we say, the pop bottles and all this is polyester, so all of that's done. So we also have done some more exotic things as we move along. To talk about polymers. This, you know what that is, right?
Yes.
This is corn, and this is make fibers out of the corn now. And we don't actually make the fibers, but they take this corn and break it down and make the resin and then make the pellets, and we buy these little pellets here and then we turn it into fiber, and the fiber is actually made from corn. This particular shirt here is made from corn. Actually the raw material for this is corn, so we're doing quite a bit of unusual things in our company here that's
It's amazing.
It's not normally seen. So in fact we're doing some things that so secretive we can't even talk about it. So
Well, we won't tell anyone.
We have to sign agreements with the customers that we won't discuss what we're doing for them. It's not in some more exotic polymers that we're working on. So
You mentioned this would have come from a black.
it's the food trays that you see in the microwave. You know,
Right.
you anything you microwave, it's gotta be microwavable, so you get a black tray in your dish, so.
So did this come from a pink?
No, these particular ones, we add pigments to it. We add a color to these ourselves. We could do it from there. We could take this and make fibers, but we don't get enough of the individual ones to. We did make some one time from a mustard bottle. We got enough, not that mustard was already in them, but enough mustard yellow that we made some yellow shirts out of the mustard bottle. So, but we don't get normally enough. We would buy this. It might come. These are coming from a company that makes these, molded these, but they would throw them all in one batch. This is something that got rejected or something. So this is why we call them recycled. There's something wrong with these from them. So we don't normally get enough colors to make them run. So, but we end up we put colors. We can make about any color under the sun. So we have over 3,000 colors in our product line that we're producing. So.
There are two things I'd like to ask, among others.
Certainly.
One is, when you ride down the road coming to work in the morning, is your mind going to all these wonderful things you want to think about that day?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. I'm always thinking about good things we can do here, exciting improvements in what we do. We feel like if you're not moving forward, you're backing up. So you always got to be reinventing yourself every day. You got to be sitting around. We use the scenario sometime about the lion and the gazelle. Every morning the gazelle in the jungle wakes up and he's got to outrun the lion or he'll be eaten. So we tell our people that every morning you got to run like crazy, or somebody will come along and try to take over your business. So you got to stay there, you got to keep running. So.
And besides, it's fun.
It's fun, it's fun, yeah. Otherwise I'd be doing something different. So I would not be here if it wasn't fun. It's something I really enjoy. So.
This is wonderful to just learn a little bit about you and your thought process and what you've achieved. I understand you're a fan of Italian fabrics. Can you tell me why Italy is known for their fabrics?
Well, the Italians have always, and basically the best fabrics in the world are wool fabrics. Still, even today, if you want a really fine fabric, you get wool, because it's warm. You know, it holds the heat. It doesn't, the moisture, it holds moisture in it, so you feel warm. And if you get a fine men's suit right now, it's 100% wool. The finest ladies wear a dress will be 100% wool. And the Italians have already done this. They have made the best wool fabrics in the world, and they still do. I mean, if you go in to get, and they move from that into other things. They do a lot of silk. You know, the finest fabrics in the world still come from Italy, because they've been craftsmen for hundreds of years. You know, so it started way back when, and they started. The people in the monasteries and all were actually making the fabrics and all out of it. So, so it's still the best fabrics in the world come from Italy.
So you're still learning from others.
Absolutely, we're learning from others every day. You got to be listening and looking and keeping your eyes and ears open the whole time. You got to be.
So the adage, "Don't ask questions," is wrong.
You need to ask questions.
You
never learn it. There's no such thing as a dumb question. So never a dumb question. So.
Well, I'll ask a good question now.
Okay.
Can you show us a little bit about your plant?
Yes, I'll show you.
That'd be fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will do that.
This is Bobby McCutcheon again from the Williamsburg County Library, and this part of the video shows Mr. Henry's manufacturing plant. You need to cover your ears a little bit because this is really loud back in here, but we get to see all of Mr. Henry's ideas brought into reality. We get to see what they make here at Palmetto Synthetics and how they make it. This is very exciting to all of us.
product right there. It goes around the world. We're selling products in China. We sell it really there. We sell it in Japan. Textiles, so we're making the pellets in this operation. Small amount of that would be added. We're making a blue fiber, or if you want to make other colors, they put a little blue and a little red, and a little different things to make the different colors they want. So all of this thing is a different pigment so that we can make any color that's custom pleasing.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Matthews, Children's Librarian here at the Winsburg County Library, and we would like to thank Mr. Henry Poston for having us come and tour and find out about his facility, Palmetto Synthetics. We truly enjoyed it. We know the kids will be happy to see the video, and we thank you once again.